In this video, I'm speaking to you about the negatives and positives of semen retention. There's going to be negatives and there's going to be positives when you go on retention. And usually it really kind of depends on what type of state you're in. See, the thing is, the mistake a lot of people make and guys make is that they think that just because they're on semen retention, they're automatically maybe going to get woman attraction, or their life is going to just somehow by default get better. And the thing is, they're right. They're also kind of wrong as well too. Because the thing is, it's not necessarily just because you're on retention and stuff like that. But what it is that just because you're on semen retention doesn't necessarily mean you're just going to get woman attraction. But what it is going to amplify you. And basically, usually whatever state you're in, most if you have high cortisol levels, which honestly semen retention can also amplify that too. This isn't just some sort of root fix, one size fits all where you do and then boom, you're good. It's like whatever, if you already have high cortisol levels and you're also on semen retention, you honestly might have higher cortisol levels because of it enhancing it. And because usually however you feel is how usually life is in general. Whatever you're usually attracting, how feelings pretty much attract things. That's mostly what you're going to be what's really going to be happening in your life. So that's why some people say, I remember someone in the comments sometimes said something about how I've been on retention, but I'm getting some negative experiences, I'm getting bad luck, and because this is a twofold type of thing. Just think about retention as like a cherry on top, an amplifier of who you are. It's just an amplifier. That's literally all you have to think about it is. And if you're a positive dude, you're getting things done, you're intentional and stuff like that, it's going to amplify everything. You're actually probably, honestly, if it ever came to like woman attraction, then this isn't something that you should lead by, but this is just a default. It's actually you're more likely to attract someone. And I've actually noticed this in my own life, where if you're literally just focused on whatever you're doing and you're not giving in to any lust and stuff like that, by really like watching like any videos or stuff like that, usually when you do that, you're because you are being made to reproduce, your body's gonna find some way to interact with women. This is usually going to be through dating. Either maybe it's on dating apps or in person, maybe at the gym and stuff like that. This is literally by life. So if there's ever any time where we're like, oh, I'm not getting any traction, blah blah blah, just like what you need to do, completely strip yourself of any dopamine, especially on like if you're watching anything online and stuff like that. Completely strip yourself of that, and then use that energy that you're already feeling into like your normal life. Whether maybe you're probably going to get more attraction by default on dating apps, and this is based off, it's not necessarily a coincidence, it's something that you just start noticing more. And for some reason, women honestly respond to this type of energy more, even if it's something that they can't even really naturally say. So this is, because it's natural, it's biology. Matter of fact, like I'm on a dating app right now, and I'm talking. I can literally show you if I wanted to. I can show you guys. I'm literally on an app right now, making plans, maybe for like next week or something like that. So this is how you have to look at it. So there's going to be negatives and there's going to be positives, and it really just comes down to what your default state is. If you're naturally a more pessimistic guy, you're gonna have higher cortisol levels. And because you have higher cortisol levels, you're literally going to be amplifying these energetic broadcasts out into the world, and that's what you're going to react back. So this is what I see. So so the thing is, it's like negatives and positives. There's negatives and positives behind everything. The negatives is, like I said, high cortisol levels attracting negative situations or circumstances. Maybe it is you get pulled over. You might get pulled over in your car or something, or your car stops working. Or you might just, if you're in school or something, you might receive a bad grade or something. Positive experiences is you actually get woman attraction, or you might achieve some sort of business statute. You might achieve some sort of business achievement. Maybe you're a creator and you're getting more engagement, anything like that. Really, anything subconscious, to be honest. So this is really what it, this is really what it comes down to be honest. And just like I said, use retention as like an amplifier, someone of something you already are. Retention is just something that you already are, and it's either going to be a negative or positive swing. I remember one time where another thing too is, I'm telling you, your default state, the state where you're in, especially, is what's going to be transmitted. There was a time where I was fasting. I was fasting for a period of time, and when you're fasting, usually you might be a little bit more irritable, slash you might even come across as negative, or just like on some real very, very potent type of thing, right? And usually, when you do that, where you're in this state, there might be some negative things that happens to you, just because you're in this state where you're not 100% normal, if that makes sense. So these are some of the things that you have to realize. You can't let retention. You can't think that retention is automatically going to save you. It's going to amplify you, who you already are. Usually, you're going to be, if you're not sitting in this energy and you're transmuting, you're going to have more of a positive experience, to be honest, because it's like you're actually getting things done. But if you're sitting on this energy, you're negative, you're not taking action, and you're not executing, it's going to be there's going to be more questions than answers, to be honest. There's going to be more questions than answers. So, this is what I can tell you right now. So, what I'm going to do is, I'm gonna open up some coaching, some coaching where you're able to really see, if you're really trying to improve your life in the next new year, 2026. Because the thing is, another thing about like self-improvement, and where I want to take this channel is more into that self-improvement niche, where it's more direct coaching, where if something, if you're honestly struggling with stuff, I want it to be more direct. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm putting up coaching slots, and it really just comes down to you just being the man that you truly want to be in the next year, to be honest. Because at this point, it's like, when you break it down from a psychological level of a man, the reason why men, might not be fulfilled, or might be depressed, or might be sad, is usually because they don't have specific areas in their life filled. You have to think about it. Like, if there was areas of your life filled, most of the time you're probably going to get positive experiences. And what I mean filled, I mean like the spiritual aspect of your life, your faith, your body, your finances, and then your relationships. Those, I believe, are the pillars of life. And if one lacks but the other one is filled, then you're gonna be overcompensating. That's why guys lead with money and stuff like that. But if you do have all aspects of your life filled, then it is going to be a little bit more of an easier thing. Life is going to be a little bit more easier for you. It is. That's just what it is. The reason why guys talk about depression and stuff like that is because there's some aspects of their life. There's two things. In some cases, there legitimately is, there's enough dopamine receptors in their brain, and that's obviously someone who's diagnosed with like depression and stuff like that. I'm talking about guys who may not be diagnosed but still feel kind of sad. It's usually because there's some aspects of their life are not 100% congruent. Maybe, see, the thing is, I believe you have to have all four areas filled in order to really be fulfilled and really to be truly present, to be honest. Your spiritual life has to be fulfilled. You have to have a relationship with the Most High, and however you practice, whether that's through religion, prayer, and stuff like that, there has to be some sort of aspect, I believe, that also your physique has to be active. If you live in a sloth lifestyle, it's going to affect other areas of your life, I believe, too. You don't necessarily have to be the most in shape dude, but you have to be somewhat active. I also believe your finances have to be, this is just the hierarchy of needs, when it comes to life and everything like that. Your basic needs have to be met, and you're able to, sustain yourself. If you're able to do that, then it comes down to just your relationships. This is another thing that a lot of guys feel as though they can just neglect. And I believe me, is neglecting any area of your life is literally doomsday for you as a man, because you're more than just flesh. You're a soul. You need multiple aspects of your life to be fulfilled. And if you continuously work on this, if you actually work on this specifically, more likely than not, you're going to be more happier with yourself because you actually put in the work. I'm telling you, there's nothing better than than having people doubt you and actually being able to go through with it. That's one of the most fulfilling things for a man. And those are some of the things that you need to realize going into this new year. You set out with an intention, you do the schedule, you execute, and then now you're actually, you're actually doing the things that you say you're going to do, and you're finding fulfillment. There's nothing really else to it, to be honest. The thing is, guys, the reason why these questions start to arise is because guys like to skip steps. They think, oh, I don't necessarily have to do that. There's, what's the easier way to do this? And honestly, that's not a bad question to ask. But if that's just like who you truly are, and you just are very allergic to like putting any aspect of work, there's nothing wrong with trying to find the most efficient way to do something. But if you're 100% neglecting doing any sort of work and then feeling as though you still deserve something, then that's where the problem really arises, to be honest. So like I said, I'm opening coaching slots for guys. I remember I've worked with a coaching client, and we helped him transform his life when it came to his relationships with women, and even his relationships with his parents. So this is a body and soul type of mind and body connection type of coaching that I'm looking to help some guys in. A few guys, not everybody. You have to have an open mind, and you can't be someone who likes to be like, who just thinks that they don't need to put any work in order to get something. There's literally people who don't believe that they need to put any work in and still feel like they're still entitled to like everything. I mean, this is what the Matrix has sold you. This is what they have sold you. They have sold you that if just because you follow some sort of script means you're entitled to certain things. And that's just not how real life works. That's not just anybody told you that's not how life actually works. If you actually look at how life actually works, the physics of it, there is cause and effect, but there has to be a specific cause for that effect. Just because you do something doesn't necessarily mean you're owed something. You have to think of it critically enough to really look at it from a molecule level. Is this cause going to specifically have that effect? But the thing is, guys look at life way too much of a bird's eye view instead of more specific. So the thing is, what the Matrix has showed you is to just completely disregard critical thinking. They said just follow this thing, even if it might be obsolete, and then you should get the results. They have completely thrown out critical thinking and individualistic thinking. And because of this, people are frustrated. Men are frustrated, and a lot of people are not getting the results that they really want. So they're frustrated, and they're asking why. But the thing is, what you have to look at life super specifically and start to realize, is this if we're looking at this from an objective perspective, is what I am doing going to cause some sort of effect? Things happen when there's forced penetration, in terms of applying some sort of force onto something, sophisticated penetration, so sophisticated force to create some specific outcome. Notice I said specific. It has to be specific. You have to literally look at it, take a step back and look at it from this type of perspective, and talk point A to point B equals C. This is what you have to realize, to be honest. And you can't be full of yourself, but you definitely do need to be concrete in your execution. I do believe execution is the number one important thing. Nobody wants to hear these things. See, the thing is, another thing I realize is like, there's a lot of people who post stories and stuff, and then every time someone's posting a story about how they managed to acquire some success, they see all of the material success and stuff, but anytime things come down to like, oh, how I actually achieved it and what you can do, there's less attention to it, because it doesn't satisfy the human brain. The human brain loves, especially in an idealistic standpoint, loves the love of ease. That's human biology. The easier something gets, and the instant the results can get, the people are going to flock to it. That's why AI is going to be super prominent. Let's think about it. If you can get information straight from your fingertips at the press of a button, then it's very hard to beat, because one, it's a very hard thing to beat because it's instant and it's giving you exactly what you need, exactly what you want as well too. So I mean, what you have to do as a creator, what you have to do as a person who's aware of all of this is just, realize how, instead of asking the question, for example, how is AI is gonna replace me and stuff like that, start asking, how are you going to use AI to leverage yourself? Because the thing is, the reality is it really comes down to leverage. If you're able to have leverage, then you're literally able to essentially just run the board on literally everything. It really comes down to leverage. If you have leverage, you can literally win at anything. So I start asking a question instead of being scared of AI or saying, "Oh, AI is going to take my job." How am I going to use AI to leverage myself so I'm in a good spot where I'm able to use it as leverage? This is what you have to, pretty much ask for yourself. There's just so much at this certain point. There's just so much access to like information that honestly at this point not knowing something is inexcusable, because all you have to do is literally just literally you could literally just ask automated intelligence, and then it can literally just tell you the information. So it's really comes down to, I believe, in the next 5 to 10 years, the people who are going to get ahead, slash the people who are still going to be behind asking what's going on, are the people who use the information that's given to them, used it in the way where they were able to leverage it. That's what I believe. That's what I believe. In the next 5 to 10 years, how things are going to. Some people are going to get ahead, and some people are still going to be stuck. There's people going to be asking about jobs and stuff like that. We already know. At this point, we already know the economy isn't. A lot of people who are doing it the obsolete way, they're going to be asking questions maybe in the next 10, 15 years when obviously there's a second renaissance coming when it comes to like the AI and stuff like that. So these are the things that you have to prepare yourself for, and you have to get ahead of by using that information that you're literally given to ask yourself, how can I use this to benefit myself in the future, whether it's my career, my business, my spiritual life, or anything like that. How can I use the information? How can I be resourceful enough? Well, do people focus on resourcefulness? How can I use the information that I have, to benefit myself, instead of, oh, this is going to come swooping in like a thief in the night, and how am I ever going to recover from this? This is what you have to realize. You have to, stand firm in your convictions. So with that being said, check the link in the description down below for that coaching and